We started, Ren?
Yes.
All right. Well, welcome to Train Up Part 1.2.
Amen.
We're going to do a quick review just so everybody remembers where we're at and where we're going. I'll be talking for a little while. Miss Teresa will come in later and share. All right. In the Moses stage, we train to obey. We train with boundaries. We train to respect. And we teach you how to apply the rod. We break Moses into 3 stages. This is what is different than all of our previous teachings. We taught all of this in one night previously. Mm-hmm. And it was like drinking from a fire hose. It was too much information. And so most of the parents probably forgot most of the teaching. So we're going to take it slow. And we're going to spend time in Moses 1, which is from 0 to 18 months, a year and a half. This is the second part of Moses 1. Last week, we focused on train them to obey the simple command, no, and come when I call you. The training to obey the command no is going to last the rest of their life. It's not something you accomplish and then when they turn 18 months, you leave that behind and you go to something new. That command is going to stick with them all their life, and eventually it will come from their teachers. It will come from sometimes their spouses. We're training the children to understand the concept of no. And come when I call you. But tonight is Moses 1.2, the awakening of the soul. We briefly mentioned last week the child has needs and the child has wants. We're going to go into much more detail. In fact, every stage of Moses, their soul continues to awaken to different things. And so we're going to be adding to the teaching or the Moses teachings as we go through it. What is the soul? It is the mind, it is the will, and it is the emotions. They're little beings that have a mind. Trust me, they have their own will. And they have a lot of emotions. We're going to talk about those, the mind, the will, and the emotions waking up and how to handle it and how to train them. Because you're going to need to know as parents the difference between needs and desires. When a child is from 0 to 6 months, the only way to get their need met is to cry. And by 6 months, the child has already learned crying gets me what I need. But at 6 months, the child begins to have wants. They want to grab this. They want this. They want that. And the only method they know is crying. And so they'll continue that method to get their wants met. They have the desires of the eyes. As soon as they can see, they want to touch something. And if it was talking about babies, it would be the desire of the mouth, because when they're children, everything they touch goes in the mouth. Mm-hmm. Because a child with no teeth has a lot of nerve endings, and they can chew on something, and it actually helps them. Like if we feel something, we can actually check the texture. We can learn a lot about touching things. Well, a baby doesn't have good of motor skills, he uses his mouth to learn what different textures are, and then they find out there's a taste involved. Oh my goodness, that's a whole nother thing. Creates a desire for the flesh. And so these things are beginning to awaken in the child, and we're going to give you the tools how to guide your child when these things are going to be opening up. What this teaching is not to lock your child in a cage and they can't have any desire and they can't have anything that you can't give them anything they want. That is not what this teaching is. This teaching is that you're going to correctly direct their desires. They also are experiencing emotions that they have no control over whatsoever. That's because their minds haven't developed. God gave them emotions first and understanding later. How many of you, I think I asked this last week, how many of you cry when you get hungry?
Crying. Well,
I get hangry, but I don't cry.
cry when you get hungry, Ben.
The child cries, and the reason why we don't do it is because we have enough mind that's ridiculous to cry. If you don't get what you want, they cry. They can't control. They have full-blown emotions at 6 months. They get angry. They laugh at silly stuff. They can be in a good mood, a bad mood. They can cry all night. And so they're full of emotions. The problem is they have no ability to control them. And you as parents are going to help them learn to control their emotions way before their little minds consider it inappropriate to be crying at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now that their soul is beginning to emerge, we're going, if you have some comments, you just let me know. I should jump in, but we usually go through the slides quick and then they start slowing down. You are called as the parent to direct their soul. This is the biblical principle we're going to find in the scriptures. In the human principle, the parent wants to give the child whatever it desires. And the child learns this, and so he will cry, and then the parent gives it to the child because the parent just wants the child to be quiet. That's reinforcing the desire of their soul, and they will do a better job at training you than you've done at training them. They have desires and emotions, but no ability to control them. But God gave them parents. And the parents are to help moderate, to help direct those emotions and those desires. So let's jump into, I think, some scripture here. They need you to direct their soul. Psalm 119, 66 through 68. Teach me knowledge and good judgment. We're comparing this to a child who has no judgment. For I trust your commands. Before I was afflicted, I went astray. But now I obey your word. You are good, and what you do is good. Teach me your decrees. If you teach and train your child, they will know that you are good and what you do is good because you are going to do it according to God's word. And so they lack any judgment, not just good judgment, they have zero judgment. All they have is a desire, and that desire grows until they get it. And if they get what they desire, it just reinforces the fight in them to continue to fight until they get what they desire.
I think there's an idea you can think, if I confront the will of a child, then they will not like me. So I don't want to put boundaries on them and make them angry with me or make them not like me. But it's actually very much the opposite. Like the scripture says, David is saying this, I guess, Psalm 119, David is saying this, before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I know your words, that you are good. And so he said, I know that you are good. And so your children are also going to learn to trust you too, that you are good. I trust you, that everything you're saying. Now, they're way too young to understand that now, but they will rest in your commands. So the children that, like I don't just give children everything, but they love me. All the children here love me because they know that I will set boundaries. I will uphold those boundaries. And there's something safe, I think, in boundaries when are you pleased with me? Are you happy with me? Sometimes you have a desire to know that. Does the Lord love me? Is he pleased with me? Am I walking in his commands? I'm walking in his commands. I'm obeying his will. I know what his will is. So he is pleased with me. I can have confidence of that. I know what is right. I know what is wrong. So I can know that I'm walking in the goodness of God. And so your children also, when they know what the boundaries are, there's something safe in that, as opposed to just, I don't know, sometimes I can do this and sometimes I can't. I don't know what boundaries are. And then a child actually can be very moody. They are grumpy when they don't know what the boundaries are, because they just learn to just cry to get whatever their desire is. And then you have very cranky children. Children who are in control, under control, are usually much happier children. And it makes for a much more pleasant household. We had this with,
We're going to get
we'll get into that in a little while.
boundaries.
Okay.
She's teaching another slide. That's
Training
with boundaries. Nothing wrong with the soul desiring things. As long as there are boundaries set. Exodus 19:12, this is Yahweh speaking to Moses. And you are to set boundaries for the people around the mountain and tell them, be careful not to go up on the mountain or touch its base. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. So we're going to talk about, as parents, your job in Moses 1 is to begin to set down boundaries for your child, and they will love you for it when they become older. They'll love you for it because they're going to honor and respect you. But we'll get into that. We have to first deal with their desires. Biblical training involves setting boundaries. Boundaries confront the child's will. When they desire something, that is part of their will. I want it. The child doesn't know yet that it can't have it. And so we're going to show you that it is not good to give your child everything they desire. You are setting them up for destruction. The Lord said, if they go beyond the boundary, they shall surely be put to death. They will die. And so boundaries confront the child's will. And way before they can speak, they can have a will and learn how to get their will to be fulfilled.
As a reminder too, when they're first born, their only way to express that they need something is through a cry. And so they'll soon learn, by about this time, they'll soon learn that, if I need to eat, if I need a diaper change, if I'm tired, they cry because they need something. That's where to express it. But soon they will say, but I want that. And if I cry, I can also get that. They don't understand what are needs and what are desires. And this is beginning to blossom. So now they realize, if I just make some noise, I can pretty much get my parents to do my bidding, right? And they'll begin to learn this art of manipulation. And so when they get to be about this age, you have to learn when it is a need and when it is a want. And that's what we're getting into. It doesn't start sinful, it just starts natural.
Like Benjamin, he needs some milk. He needs some milk. Restraining their desires. This is not taught in the world. This is a biblical principle. You guys remember we talked last week about Eli's sons? Yeah. Look what it says. For I told him that I would judge his family forever because of the sin he knew about. His sons blasphemed God and he failed to restrain them. That means they were allowed to do whatever they desired. If they wanted God's portion of the meat, they figured out a way how to get whatever they desired. They never learned restraint. Restraint of a desire is easiest learned at Moses stage 1. Mm-hmm. If you still have to teach it, if you've missed it, if you're realizing that, man, our child gets everything they desire, they're constantly pushing and they're constantly, if you allow their will to grow, you have a stronger fight on your hands because you've allowed it to grow. And now the child's like, well, what's going on? What happened to you? I used to get everything I want. Now you want to fight me? That child will fight you. He will push and push and push because he's already tasted getting his will fulfilled about everything, or her will fulfilled in every way. And he's got to figure out, what I was doing wasn't working. I've got to change my plan. And you have to continue to work with that child until they become content with having their desires restrained. We all have learned that to some degree, some of us more than others. Mm-hmm. It affected Eli's generations because he never taught his children restraint. Mm-hmm. And when they were younger, it might have been that they ate cookies from the cookie jar. Mm-hmm. They might have did little things, but when it got older, it was adultery. It was blaspheming God. It was robbing God as a priest. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I guess that could look also like struggling to manage a budget, or struggling to manage your time, or struggling to manage your cell phone use.
Mm-hmm. How about procrastination? You know what the definition of procrastination is? You can't manage your desires. Mm-hmm. There's you just like, I just can't do it. If I don't desire something, I don't do it. If I desire to do something, I do it. Mm-hmm. I keep getting this pop-up, procrastination pop-up, and it says, are you a victim of procrastination? And it blames something else.
Yeah, it's AI song. That's not your fault.
It's not your fault. You need to take some pills. We'll sell them to you. No, we do what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And look, that is not how life. We do what we have to do. We do what we need to do. We don't always do what we want to do. Mm-hmm. So what are these boundaries we're talking about?
Yes.
We're going to be talking about restraining their desires. We talked last week. There are some things that are no. Well, now you're going to use that and you're going to bring it in and you're going to establish things that are off limits. You're going to restrict their mobility. Does everyone here know what mobility is? It means their ability to go where they want, when they want. We're also at Moses stage. There's no choices. There's no freedom of choice in the Moses stage. We saw that displayed in God's character, but we're going to get there. And we're going to talk about dealing with the emotions through all of these processes. So off limits, mobility, and no choices are the main focus of boundaries. Off limits. Last week we talked about no. It wasn't so much to train your child what's off limit. It's actually that they know and understand the command. Now you're going to use that command to make things in your home, actions they do, as off limits, meaning they're not permissible, they're not allowed. If the child wants to touch the stove, and you've trained what no means, it's going to be no, and it's forever no until they get into a much further category, until they get to Judges, when their actual minds are more developed. The worst thing you can do is just let your child play with things that could actually harm them. And so, how about your phone? They'll break your phone, right? Pick up the phone.
Drop it.
Anybody ever had their children break their phone? I had Abby break a camera of mine one time.
Glasses, the glasses break.
Breaking glasses off the face. Those things. So you're teaching a child. This is all. It doesn't matter that you desire it.
This will always be no.
It will always be no. And you don't have to explain to the child why it's no. You're looking for compliance. They will fight you. They will test whether no means no.
I put keys here. We put keys here because I cannot tell you how many times we lost keys because the kids play with keys and you don't know where they put them. I remember when Brenton was very small, we lost the keys for like 2 weeks. We could not find these keys anywhere. And they were in the seat of one of his little push toys.
Yep.
And we'd have never thought to look there because we didn't put it there.
So we like to give the kids the keys because they make noise.
Yeah, make noise.
Go buy your child a toy.
It's difficult
Because
to
you'll
find
be
it.
going through the mall and they'll find the keys and throw them out. And now you'll never find them.
So keys are one I suggest never letting them touch the keys. Just that is a no-no. Do not touch keys ever. Because you will pay for it in the long run if you let them touch keys.
Maybe your purse. You need to define what's off limit for the child. Playing in the toilet, it's off
No,
limit.
that's a no-no. Today, for example, Benjamin was sitting on my lap in the front seat of the car, and immediately he saw the knobs. And all little boys who come in Momo's car, when they see the knobs, it's very intriguing to them. They want to start turning and doing these sorts of things. So I've told them also, we don't touch the knobs in the car. We just don't touch the knobs in the car. It's interesting, it's intriguing, but that is not a toy. So they start to learn that these are boundaries. This is not a toy. We don't touch this, Just with a no. This is a no.
Mm-hmm. It is your responsibility as a parent to instruct the child what is off limits and expect that child to comply.
Remotes, you might want to do that with remotes too. Can easily lose remotes.
Or if you have stairs in the house.
Stairs.
Some of you might have stairs and you might have barricades put up. That's fine, but you need to train them to control and redirect their desires. If we avoid training by not allowing to put the tree in the middle of the garden, then they will not have learned this and they're going to wind up like Eli's sons.
Then it just means anything I can touch, I can.
I can have.
I can have. And so we don't want that idea that there are some things that you can still touch, but it's a no-no. So they need to understand that just because I can touch it doesn't mean I can touch it.
You would think that stairs would be part of mobility. That's actually not. It's something that is off limits. Yeah. It's off limits, and it's always off limits. If you allow the child to play on the stairs, you might as well allow them to go all the way up to the top of the stairs. If that is not safe, then you should just teach them to play in the street. When is it okay and when is it not okay? It is not okay at their age, so it's off limits.
I do remember, this just came back to me. Actually, in our house in Merapi, I remember Lily learning to climb, and I appreciated the fact that she was learning climbing. It was a good thing, and I didn't want to tell her she couldn't climb. So I took a piece of red tape and I put it on the third step. And I told her, you can climb up until this line, and then after this, you can go no further. And she learned that. And do y'all remember that? We had that at the house. So she learned, because we didn't have much activity for her to practice to get much exercise. And I appreciated the fact that she was learning the skill of climbing, but I did set a boundary of not past the third step. So we did that. I just remember doing that with
It's still
piece
a
of tape.
boundary.
It was still
You
a
need
boundary.
to set safe boundaries for your children. And it's not just about safety.
You can even put a piece of tape down in a doorway if they know you do not cross.
Don't cross the line.
This line, you do not cross this line. And they begin to learn that. You can use red tape or something like that as one of your training methods too.
When God told
This room,
Moses
we
to
don't
set
go
up
in.
a fence, it wasn't to prevent them from trying and they set the fence up so high. It was a boundary that had said, hey, don't cross here. But of course they could have climbed it, because he said if they choose to go past it, then they're going to die. And so you don't want to set the boundary so high that they no longer have a choice. What we're doing is we're saying you have to teach your child that they can have a desire, and they're going to have to learn to be content that they can't get that desire fulfilled. If you prevent that from happening, they will never have learned it. And when they get old enough, they're just going to go, it's called rebellious. They can go wild and crazy. And you can be like, wow, we didn't know that. Our daughter just turned wild when she got out of the house. Yeah, because you never taught her that every desire she has is not good. You need to have restraint. You need to have some things that are out of bounds. Restraining their desires to have.
This is funny. Anytime the children are playing together, the little babies especially, they're playing with the toy, and then they notice that this child is really enjoying that toy. So that must be more fun than the carrot that I have. So, so they immediately will throw their toy and try to take that one, and then you'll hear this little, this little grunting between babies as they fight over these toys. So it's a natural thing for them to assume that your toy is better than mine. Or even from older siblings, it's very common that the little brother or the little sister will want the toy the older one is playing with, and then they will start to, cry for it. And mamas, don't say give it to the little one. Don't do that. They need to learn to restrain themselves too. You cannot just play with something someone else is playing with. We don't do that.
So there's a little bit of understanding about taking from others or the children. And you're going to experience this, especially when you have two, or you visit someone who has a Moses stage child also. So we never allow a child to take a toy from another child, even if it's their toy. If that toy is off limits from another child, and you step in, you say, no, don't give it to him, give it to me. This is off limits. You have company right now, and that if it's off limits. So don't, even if, say, you have J-Ho and Shine playing together, and J-Ho and Shine both have their toys, and Shine picks up a toy, and J-Ho takes it because it's his. It's not right. And his parents were like, but it's
But it was his birthday present.
It's his
I
birthday
understand,
present.
yeah.
Then don't bring it to play date or put it away. Maybe Shine's destructive and she chews on everything and she's going to eat it. And you're concerned as a parent. That's why you remove it and say no. Or Shama should stay in Moses style. So J-Ho goes to their house and there's this little doll that's very delicate. And Joy knows how to play with it, but maybe J-Ho thinks it's a stretch toy. You take it and you say it's off limits. You can't just let one child play with it and say that if it's off limits for the child that's visiting, it's off limits for all of the children until those children leave. Trust me, there were toys that we hid when the neighbors came to play because we spent a lot of money on them, and we taught our children how to play respectfully with those toys. And those toys would become off limits. Not just going to let my children play with them in front of the other children. Do you guys understand what we're talking about? It's never good, and you have to deal with the child who is pulling the toys out of another child's hand. He understands, hey, I desire to play with that, but he lacks the reason and the understanding that you just don't go take. I mean, this would be like if you drive up to Indomaret and you see a brand new ADV. And you're like, that's nicer than mine. You park yours, you get on theirs, and you take theirs.
That happens sometimes. It does happen. Yeah.
Is that right?
It's not right, but it
We
happens.
can reason that it's right, but to a child, that's exactly what he's doing. Oh, yours is better than I'm take yours. We have to train them that this is not right. Or they'll think, I want it, and they won't even ever consider that they're hurting someone by taking their stuff because they're so eaten up by their own desire. The second part of training is restraining their desire to do. The first one, we're restraining their desire to have. Now we have to restrain their desire to do. And that is where we deal with mobility. Notice the picture. 2 children sitting on the lap of the parent. It's easy to do that when the child is sleeping, right? Not so easy when they're
At this
awake
age, yeah, it's difficult.
and they've learned how to get down off of your lap.
They arch their
Yeah,
back.
they wiggle and they're
Begin
like,
to
I'm
slide.
And if they're supposed to be on your lap, you have to restrain them. See, their desire is to go do something, to go somewhere. And you have to pull them back and say, no, right now, you're sitting on daddy's lap or you're sitting on mama's lap. They will fight you because they still desire it. You have to continue until they come to the point where they are okay with not getting their desire. If they're a little bit older and you haven't taught this, it's actually more difficult for them to learn it because you always let me down off of your lap. You always let me just run around the house. You always let me go here. You always what's this restriction now? You've allowed their soul to experience things that should have been restricted from the beginning. We had to teach some of this to children who were in the Joshua stage because we had never heard of any of some of this teaching. And we had to implement it because we didn't know this when our first children were in the Moses stage. Sitting in the lap. You should put the child in your lap and take 5-10 minutes for the child to sit there. Yes, they're going to fight. They're going to want to get down, but you need to train them that when you're on the lap, this is lap time. You got to do this also in the high chair or the stroller.
It's very common that you'll put a child in a high chair, you'll put them in the stroller, and then after a minute or two, they start crying, and you say, oh, they just don't like the stroller. Oh, they just don't like the high chair. No, they don't like restriction.
They don't like to be
They
restricted.
want, just like they want this, they want freedom. They want to go. And we
have
don't.
a desire to do something else, but sit in the stroller.
So it's
to
not
confine
that
it.
they don't like the stroller, they don't like the confinement. And so we challenge that anyway because you're beginning to teach them self-control at this time. And of course, the self-control of we're Moses 1 right now, 0 to 18 months is going to be about 5-10 minutes. So if you put them, when my kids were small, I would often just change their activity. So I'd put them in something for about 10 minutes. And usually by the 7th minute, 8th minute, they're crying, they're wiggling. But at this point, I'm teaching you something. You're going to change activities when I say you're going to change activities. And we're going to be changing activities pretty soon. But you don't let it bother you. You don't get upset. You just, we have 1 more minute. And maybe your goal is 10, but they're at 6 right now. So you're going to push them to 7 minutes. And so you're going to sing a song. And we're going to try to keep them happy. But we are not going to take them out of that chair. We are not going to take them out of that stroller. They're going to sit there. And then at some point, once they know this, you're even going to tell them, when you stop crying, I'll take you out. You cannot. So even once they've reached their milestone of 8 minutes, 9 minutes, I still am not going to take them out until they stop crying. So they know not to make the association that if I cry long enough, then I get what I've been desiring.
Or set an alarm on your phone and make it ring and say, okay, now
we're done. Now we're done. Now, I want to pick you
the
up.
liberty wasn't provided from their crying. There was an external determination that they can get down or not. And if they're fighting you from the beginning, like sitting with your lap, you may have a whole hour on your hands where you're fighting the child to comply.
Yes.
We're talking about sitting and complying for 5 to 10 minutes. Not
And you can tell when it's when they're going from I'm tired of sitting here to I will not do what you want me to do. You can tell when you shift into that gear of rebellion. You can tell, and they can do it at 8 months, 9 months. It can start very young that they actually. You can tell when they flipped into this. And once they've gone into this, you cannot give up the fight. You must win. And this can take some time now, depending on how stubborn this child is. I had one child, not saying any names, who was very, very stubborn.
all the children think it's them. It's me.
That, once you started challenging the will, it was just, I was like, this is painful. I
Because
don't
their
want this
will-
for you, but I had to fight to the end.
When their soul wakes up, you're dealing with a whole lot of things. So we're restraining them of what they want or to have and what they desire to do. I know some of the kids do this. You're feeding them, you go, all done, and they go, "Ah!" They desire more, and you say, it's all done. We always trained our kids with some sign language. Because they begin to communicate actually with sign language before they can speak, because their little minds can't speak yet. And we gave them other tools of how to communicate. So if you are sitting and when your alarm goes off, you go, all done, then you can set them down. They know you're determining that they're all done and can come down from the chair. So we're saying you need to be able to determine how your child reacts when they have a desire either to do or a desire to have, and you say no. This will happen in the grocery store, but you don't want to train in the grocery store. If you notice it in the grocery store, you say, I'm going to have to go home and start working on this. We're going to have to start training. Blanket time.
So I attended a seminar a long time ago. My kids were very, very small, and it was all these mamas. Some of them were like Amish moms with head coverings, and they all did this amazing thing. They would bring this blanket that was about this big, small blanket, and they put their children that were just learning how to sit, maybe 7 months, 8 months old, on that blanket next to them as they sat and took notes during service. And that baby knew, you do not get off of this blanket. And it was impressive to me. I was so amazed that this could be done. And so I went home and I started doing blanket time. So I did blanket time with all of them from Branch on. So I'd have a small blanket. It cannot be huge. It needs to be a small space, and they will learn. And you will teach them how to do it with training at home. You don't teach them at church.
Not a 10-meter T-car.
Yeah, not a big T-car. It should be a little small blanket, And they learn to sit on that blanket. And you train them at home. Okay, you're going to sit on this blanket. And we're going to start with 2 minutes. And you're going to give them one toy. And they play with that one toy on that blanket. And then they're going to go to get off. And you're going to say, no, 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 no. And then you'll start doing a little tap, no, no. And you put them back on. And you put them back on. And you put them back on. And eventually they learn that they cannot get off of this blanket. And did that with Branch. Branch was always a very calm child, so that was easy. He didn't really rebel very much. Branch was an easy child, but we did it with I did it with everyone from him on. Taught them blanket time, and they learned to just sit right there in that space. They would sit there on a rug next to me. They'd sit on their little blanket next to me, and it was so nice because I could attend ladies' Bible studies. I could attend meetings. And I could sit there with my Bible and my notes, and I could take notes and know that my child right here next to me was safe, was happy, was content, and wasn't moving, You have a question?
Like, at which age would you switch from like them being restrained for time periods to also not taking them out when they're crying? Like, when would you then explain, I'm not going to take
I would
them
do
out?
them simultaneously. I would do them simultaneously. So yeah, like at his age now, you could already begin with, okay, but you need to first kind of test the boundaries of what is his attention span. So if you know that about 3 minutes is about how long he'll sit in the high chair before he starts crying, then you know that that's where he is right now. So we're not going to aim for 10 minutes. That's too much. We're going to aim for maybe 4 minutes. So I'm going to set a timer on a stove, and then he's going to start crying. He's going to start getting wiggly at about 2 minutes, 45 seconds. He's going to start crying, and you're going to say, sing a song. It's a good day. We're doing all this stuff, trying to distract him. I'm not losing my temper. I'm not giving into it. I'm calm. I'm staying collected. And then the timer rings. Oh, time is up.
All done.
All done. All done. Shh, 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 shh. Because they also learn shh. They're going to learn no, and they're going to learn shh, 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 shh.
They have
When you
to
stop
control their
crying,
emotion.
mommy will pick you up. So shh, 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 shh.
What
Stop
they're saying is, if I
crying.
can't
Stop
get down,
crying. Yeah.
then if I can't get at what I want, then I'm just going to let my emotion just go out there. And they know that has controlled you for a long time. And so they're going to continue to try to get their way.
And that will get better and better, because he might just start at first to just calm down a little bit, and it's good enough. If he's calmed down a little bit, it's good enough. As he gets a little bit older, and I know that he understands, to be quiet, then at this point we'll say, no, I will pick you up when you stop crying, because now he knows. We've done this enough that he knows. But at first, it'll just be till he's calmed down.
Do not
so you can kind of
attempt to start restraining their mobility at 1 hour. We're going to be excellent. We're going to teach him how to sit for an hour. That you train in small increments, and you build on it.
And again, you want to do that at times when they're happy. You're not going to do that at nap time. You're not going to do that when it's almost lunchtime. You want to train
You can always
at
tell
happy
parents
times.
who have not trained any mobility, because when you just go to one of the big churches and see which kids are walking around the church or which ones are doing, because they can't sit still. And every church will have those parents where their children are what we call free range. They're
The
not,
kampung chicken.
they're
Papa
not,
calls them kampung
they're
chickens.
not bothering the pastor. They're not bothering the people. Just let them walk around. All hell will break loose if you try to put them in a seat. That's
Yep.
why they are in charge.
They are in charge.
And that is not a good place to start taking your ground or stand your ground. So we're talking about training.
And it should be around this age. The older they get, the more difficult it becomes.
We raised all of our children on the front row of seats. And until we went to LCM, there never
went to
was
children's church.
a children's church. So we did training. Teresa would sit with them, start building them up, and then get to the point where they were sitting the entire time of a service while they listened to a message audibly. And then when we're done, all done, now you can go play. And train them to just sit. They fight at first, but you're training them that their desire to go do something else is irrelevant. It's not going to work. Them fighting is not going to work. And they learn to be content.
Submitted. It's really just learning to submit. And if fathers can help with that too, fathers really seem to have a special gift in this area where they would sit with Brent on the front seat of church for an hour and not say a word. And for some reason, they'd give me a little bit more drama. I don't know why. I don't know why that is.
Because we're going to talk about
but
authority.
They do. Yeah.
In the Moses stage, they're learning authority. And they will always determine how much of an authority every person is, to know what they can get. I mean, they're geniuses at manipulation, but they can't even talk.
Yeah. It's amazing.
They've learned to get what they desire. Because that desire is so strong, and they will push, press, they'll manipulate. They will learn to train you to get you to do what they want. So don't reinforce their will by giving in. Once you've given into a child's will, you have let a fire out that is so much more difficult to get back in. How many of you ever squeezed toothpaste all the way out the tube and then tried to get it back in the tube? Don't let their desires run wild.
I didn't think anyone would answer that.
Toothpaste should be controlled as it comes out. You just can't just let it all come out because you can't get it all back in. You will have a lot of difficulty on your hands if towards the later, if you're in Moses 2 or 3 and you're beginning to train, it's necessary. You have to, but it's much more difficult. And you're going to be the one to say, wow, what Pak Brent and Ibu Teresa teach is too difficult. No, you didn't start it in time. You have to start it in time, and it's much easier. It's okay for them to experience disappointment. As parents, sometimes we feed their every desire. Oh, but they want it. I want to give it to them. You can't even restrain your own desire to give it to them. You're destroying them. So if we say no, and there's so much opportunity as a parent that you're going to have said no, but
Then you start to, well.
then you give in. Okay.
They are skinny. Maybe they need this food.
Remember your tools. So we're going to review your tools. No. They need to understand. You actually don't have to go into a big reason why it's no. It's no. Mm-hmm. When they challenge no, you reinforce with the rod. This is not discipline. This is training. The rod gets used in training, and it gets used in discipline. But this is not spanking your child. This is reinforcing that no means no, and you're going to obey. You're going to have to deal with their evil nature soon, and that's where the rod becomes very handy. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're talking about non-sinful desires.
Self-control. It's basically just learning to control themselves. Yeah.
God has given us a spirit, and what's the first thing? Self-control. So you are teaching the child self-control. Now, it's difficult for us to stay consistent is that if, as parents, we don't have self-control.
Right.
You'll say what? You'll keep making excuses for the child. Well, he's hungry, or he's tired. He wants to get down off my lap. I'll let him off my lap. Mm-hmm. You're not dealing with their desires.
Now, there's a woman, her name was Susanna Wesley. She was one of my heroes because she had 9 children who lived into adulthood. I think she had 18 children total, but 9 lived to adulthood back in the 1800s. And 2 of her children became very powerful men of God. One was Charles Wesley and one was John Wesley. And so when John was older, he asked his mom, "Can you please tell me everything that you did training us?" Because she was very strong in her training. She had her children on very rigid schedules, bedtimes, meal times. She was very rigid with all of it. And he said, I was so thankful for it because he said, I could be in the most dangerous jungles and I could sleep no matter where I was because my mom had trained me at sleep time, you sleep. And he had ultimate self-control. He could eat anything because he had been trained to eat anything. And he was so thankful for it. So he asked his mom later in life. And so she wrote a book. And so I never owned the book, but I read excerpts from the book. And she said that why would we indulge a child's nature now, only for them to have to grow up and deny that sinful nature? She said, you're actually working with the devil. If you're developing every indulgence and every desire that they have, for one day them have to crucify it. So why would you do that? Why would we do that? Why would we work with the devil? And I thought that was a really good way to think about it. So we don't want to indulge. We don't want to indulge them. We want to love them. We want to give good gifts to our children, like the scripture says, but we don't want to indulge them and just give anything that they want. And something we've noticed, especially here in Indonesia, culturally, it seems that children and babies, I watch very often, babies walking and mamas just following them around, trying to feed them and just following them, the mothers following or people following them around. And then when they get older, we put restrictions on them. You will obey me. You will go to school when I tell you. You will do this. You will marry this person. You will. And I thought that is so backwards. That's the opposite of the way it should be. When they're in Moses stage, when they're small, this is when they have no freedoms, no liberties. They learn to restrain themselves. And then later on, the liberties actually go the opposite direction because now they have restraint, they have control, and now we can give them full liberty because they know how to control themselves. So we want to grow from, and it's like Moses. We talked about that with Moses. God brought them out of Egypt.
We're about to get to that slide.
Okay, we'll get into that in a minute.
But one of your tools is you want to give them vocal affirmation. Good job.
They love that.
You don't want to give them
They're so
treats.
happy.
And you need to also recognize your desires. I'll give you an example. In America, we do birthdays a little different in America. In Indonesia, the birthday person gives a gift to everyone who comes to the birthday party. That actually doesn't happen in America. Everyone who comes to the party gives a gift to the birthday person. And some parents had multiple children. So you know what they would do? They would get a birthday present for the birthday child and presents for the other children because they didn't want them to be disappointed. And I'm like, you're destroying your children. They must learn disappointment. They must learn content. They must rejoice when the other child gets something. We have to teach them self-control. And one of the greatest lessons you can teach your children is how to accept disappointment. That is preparing them for life that is out there. It's hard, and nobody's gonna just pay you because they love you like your mama loves you, and you lack work ethic and you don't show up to work all the time. You're always calling in sick. They're not gonna continue to reward that. They're gonna learn disappointment later on in life when they're sitting in a jail cell. Let's move on. You're going to be catching glimpse of their sinful nature.
This is probably a topic that I don't know if everyone here understands. This would be a doctrinal topic. Maybe there's an idea. Do you think that when a baby is born, they're just born like a white
Innocent.
wall, just blank, innocent, nothing there? They're holy. They came straight from heaven and they're an angel, And then you think that with time, they become polluted by maybe I was unkind to them. Maybe I spanked them and I made them mean. Or maybe, you can think that if they will become anything in their wicked nature grew because it came from me. But we need to know what the scripture says. The scripture says that I was sinful at birth, sinful from the time that my mother conceived me. So that's the reality of it. We're born with the nature of sin at work in us. We're born children of Adam and Eve, and so we have their blood in our veins. So we are born with a nature of sin. You're just too small to be able to act on it. But once you're old enough to act on it, the first behaviors that come out, they're charming and laughing and loving, but they're sin. There's definitely a sinful nature in them. And so you have to make sure that you have the right idea, that according to the scriptures, they're not born innocent. And I even know from a fact, having 6 children, they're not even born blank. They are born with a personality. Each one of them are born with a personality. And it got to the point where I began to recognize it within a week or 2 of them being born. I was like, oh, I know this personality. I can already tell what this is. I've seen enough of this to know I can already see something unique in this personality that you don't see in most children. And you can recognize this is a special character, special quality. So they're not born blank, empty, holy, innocent. It's not true. And so it's not that you have to protect and make sure. I remember even thinking when Brenton was small that he was hitting because the little girl across the street was hitting. And I was like, he's got it from her. If he would have never played with her, he would have never hit. Well, that's not true. That was in his nature. It doesn't matter what, it was in his nature to hit. He didn't learn that from someone else. That was in his nature.
You don't have to train and teach them how to lie. You don't have to train and teach them how to steal or go and hide from you because they're doing something wrong. It's their
you
natural
can't
instinct.
Create a sanitary environment enough to prevent them from having these things in their nature. It's in them. You can't escape something that's inside of you.
Let's look what
you
the
know?
scriptures say. Psalm 51:5. This is David. Surely I was sinful at birth, not when he became a teenager. From the time my mother conceived me, sinful from the time my mother conceived me.
And again, psychology today teaches that we're a product of our environment. That is modern psychology. That if I was in a good, healthy environment, I would be a good person. And so we need to know that that contradicts what the Word of God says.
So most parents want to be friends with their child, give the child everything they want so that they love you and they want to stay with you. No, they have desires. And as they get older, that's why the Indonesian parents start trying to restrict the child. They allow them to do whatever they want, and then they start to restrict. And then the child rebels because you don't want to marry who they pick for you. You don't want the job they pick for you. And the parent is like, well, I guess they didn't love me enough. No, you didn't teach them. We do the complete opposite. We start a complete restriction, no liberty. And as they get older and older and older, more and more liberty. So that by the time they're 16, like Branch, he's treated like a complete adult because he was restricted as a child and he has no desire to go run off and do his own thing. Exodus 20:20 says, Moses said to the people, do not be afraid. God has come to test you so that the fear of God will be with you and keep you from sinning. So the training, here it says to test you. Some translations say train you, that they learn respect, the fear of God, and they learn obedience to keep them from sinning. This was their Moses stage. He said the whole time, this was my two goals, to train you, to keep you from sinning, and to fear me, which is to respect authority.
So we'll talk about that the Moses stage, the whole point of the Moses stage is for them to learn obedience and respect. They must learn obedience and respect in the Moses stage. And we can see it here. He says, I came to test you. So he's setting up scenarios for them. God specifically set up scenarios for Israel. They come and he brought them through the desert. He set them to places where there was not enough food, there was not enough water. He was setting things up intentionally to teach them to respect him and to obey him. These two things, to teach them to fear God is respect, and to obey his commands is to keep you from sinning.
The older the child gets undealt with, the stronger their will becomes. Some children are born with a strong will. So it actually takes a stronger willed parent to train them. Some of your children, you're going to wonder if they have a will at all.
We did not spank Branch until he was 5. We didn't spank Branch until he was 5 years old. He never gave us a hard time. He always did exactly what you said. It was so unusual. But there was some that...
But when we got into Joshua and the Judges stages, we started having issues with getting him to do stuff.
Yeah, it was the opposite. To be strong and courageous and conquer.
He's like, no, I'm
just
satisfied
fine
with nothing. I think Branch was 10 years old before he ever asked for something.
Yeah, he was.
So when you give in to their sinful nature, you're actually creating a strong-willed child that you're just going to have to deal with, or it's going to make your parenting miserable.
Yeah. Now, I love the strong-willed personality. It's a great personality. I really love these kinds of children. I really love them and other people's children. It's hard to have one that's strong-willed. They're usually very smart, and it's hard to have a strong-willed child because the principles are the same. Just the amount of times you have to spank them and reinforce can be difficult. I remember, Abby, it was 150, I think, one time. 110.
110.
What?
Spanks.
Oh.
She just would keep going and going and going. I was like, now please, I don't want to do this again. It didn't hurt. I was like, oh, God. Please don't make me do this to you, So when they're stubborn and strong-willed, it just takes everything from you. That means they have to sit in the seat for 45 minutes before I can take them out because they won't stop crying. I mean, you're making this hard for me. My heart is breaking for you, but I cannot give in. I cannot quit.
Yeah.
So this is such a fun personality.
We need to understand the condition of the soul. You're beginning to see it in a child, and you must understand that it is wicked.
Yeah.
As parents, we have to understand this. Look at these two scriptures. Genesis 6:5. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of their thoughts, of the human heart, which is the soul, was only evil at all times. Mm-hmm. When they were left to themselves, the sinful nature blossomed and bloomed, and that was all that was present. They did what they wanted to do. They stole, they killed, they murdered, they raped, it was violence on the earth. It wasn't because somebody trained them to do that. It is in them, and it must be restrained. Mm-hmm. Genesis 8:21, God says, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination," an inclination is what they lean towards, "of the human heart is evil." From when? "And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done." So every inclination from the child, it's their passion and desire, and at the same time, a sinful nature is budding and blooming. And parents, you have to deal with it.
It reminds me of Joshua. When the people said, "We will obey your commands," he said, "You can't. You cannot. You will not, because you have an evil inclination. It is just a matter of time before we have a generation that falls short." He's like, "Don't say it. You're just setting yourself up."
The Jews say that your soul is bent towards sin. Mm-hmm. That there's a bend in your soul, and that left to yourself, you will go to sin.
A child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame, because that's just left to yourself. That's where you go.
They believed the commandments was to take the heart that was bent towards sin and set it upright. So when we read the scriptures and it talks about the upright, it is those whose heart were bent to sin, but because of God's commands, their heart is set upright. Mm-hmm. Can you see the illustration? The heart of the child is bent towards sin. Mm-hmm. You didn't bend it. It was born that way. And uprightness in heart is when we allow the commands to come in and we don't act on every evil desire, because we obey the commands, not our desires. Look at the scripture. Psalm 119:7, "I will praise you with an upright heart as I learn your righteous laws." Mm-hmm. So there are so many scriptures with upright, those who are upright in heart, those who walk upright before me. It is those who have been trained by the commands, and their heart is the leaning or the bending towards doing evil has been set right. And now they desire to do good. And the inclination of their heart is to do good. And they will have relapses of sin in their heart, but not their every desire is to do sin. Mm-hmm. We'll get into that in later stages, but you must understand that your job is to set their heart upright, and that's by dealing with their desires and their emotions and their soul and their heart, their mind, their will, and their emotions. Now let's talk about respect. Children learn respect because they can recognize authority.
Yes.
This is why maybe some of our children, Teresa's like, you got to go deal with this. They're not seeing me as enough authority. And I walk in the room and the fear of God came on them.
Immediately.
Because it's my role to be in the position of authority, and Teresa's struggling to be in that position for that child. And I never struggled with being in that position. I struggled sometimes with nurturing them and comforting them, but I never had difficulty assuming authority. And so that child can sense authority, and he can also sense when you have none.
Yes, they can.
When you have no authority. So you put someone watching over your children who has no real understanding of authority, and the child is like, look what they just gave me. I'm going to get this person to do whatever I want them to do. I'm in charge.
Movies. I'm going to eat my snacks. I'm going to have a good time.
If they can't recognize an authority, they become the authority. Yeah. Galatians 4, 1 and 2. What I am saying is that as long as an heir is underage, he is no different than a slave. Although he owns the whole estate, the heir is subject to guardians and trustees until the time set by his father. What Paul is saying here, he's saying, while they are a child, they're no different than a slave. Mm-hmm. They're under an authority. They don't get to be the authority. At the right time, they can become an authority, but they must learn to respect authority by submitting to authority. And notice it says here, guardians and trustees. What's the difference between a guardian and a trustee? A guardian is the parent, who that parent entrusts to watch their child when they're not there is a trustee. So you need to be careful who you entrust your child to. Mm-hmm. Because if that child discerns that this person doesn't have any authority, the child becomes the authority.
That's something that some people asked me about last week. You know, if I'm taking care of someone else's children and they're misbehaving, then what do I do? And that can become, a very tricky thing. So I think as parents, of course, you tell your children, well, at 18 months, you don't so much tell your children. They're with you most of the time. Up till a year old, they're going to be with you almost all the time, especially because they're still nursing. But when they're left in the care of someone else, you need to make sure you tell your children, now they are the authority over you right now. They are acting as me while I am gone. And if you give them any trouble, then it will be as if you did that for me, And so then they're going to be, and then if you're the caretaker of the children, then you need to make sure that you're enforcing it. So it's not just that I want them to like me. Be careful with that, because a child, especially a child that's sweet, no problem. But a child that's smart, if they can tell you that you just want them to like you, they will run all over you.
For you
very
trustees,
quickly.
And that's those who do us a favor by watching our children. They're not puppies. They're not kittens. They come over and you're like, we're going to have so much fun. Yes, have that fun, but you need to also be an authority.
Yeah.
And say you're not comfortable with carrying out maybe
a spanking. Or something. Yeah.
It's fine. But what you need to do is, if they disrespected you as an authority, when that parent comes in, and you need to say, I told J-Ho over and over, and he didn't obey me. At that point, that father or the mother needs to step in and say, they're the authority. You're not an authority. You disrespected the authority. You have to deal with it. And you as a parent, give the authority to the trustee. And you are, as a parent, are required to make sure the child understands that when you're not there, that trustee is in charge. And so that trustee needs to give good, clear, accurate information, even you teachers.
Yeah.
If that child is acting up in your class,
Absolutely.
you need to let that, you might not feel, I'm not going to spank them, but you need to let them know, I'm having a problem with your child
Yes.
and authority
Yes.
in our class. You guys need to work on
We
it.
want that. And to take that even a step farther, when your children get older, if your children come home and they tell you something that happened to them at school, don't take their word for it. They learn very well how to manipulate parents too. You need to go to the teachers and find out, what did my child do? And I guarantee you it'll be a much different story than what that child came home and told you.
In fact,
and then
if
you
the
need
child-
to choose to believe the teacher and not your child.
We
because then
never
your child has
believe the
authority.
child, even if they were telling the truth, and I'll tell you why. Because you're screwing their mind on who's the authority. It doesn't matter. So say you were got arrested by a police, and you say, but I was right. It doesn't matter. He has the authority to put you in jail. Show some respect to authority. Authority doesn't have to be right. They're in authority, even when they're wrong. Show some respect to that authority. So we never believed our children or sided with their children. Our
Against
children.
an authority,
If they
yeah.
came and they're like, well, the teacher said this and they're wrong. I'm like,
I'm
you're
sure
wrong.
you misunderstood something.
The
'Cause
teacher's
their
in charge.
chances are they're right. Uh-huh.
Because they will come back and play your little heartstrings like a harp, and you're going to feel so sorry that this teacher is doing this to their child. If you suspect that, then you come to the authorities of the school,
Yes,
and we will
and deal
address
with
it,
it right
we'll
away.
monitor it.
If not, you're
But listen,
creating-
don't believe to the little liars in your home.
Yes.
We never believed our children or gave authority to what they were saying, because we're not going to teach them to disrespect authority.
Yes, yes, yes. Do you have a question? Oh, there.
They will learn authority when you take charge and you lead them. Do not let your children lead you.
Yeah.
Or they want to go do this. Unless you're at the play zone at Pakuan Mall. And if the child wants to go play on that, that's fine. The child wants it, you follow to make sure they don't jump off of something and kill themselves. But that should not be how your home is run.
Yes.
That you're constantly chasing your child all day long because they're in charge. You're to lead them. It says in Exodus 13:21, by day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day or night.
And
Israel didn't get to choose where they went. They had to follow the cloud or the pillar of fire. And God was training them. They could have said, we don't want to go this direction. I'm pretty sure God would have said, it's not negotiable. You follow where the cloud goes. This is how we train in the Moses stage. They don't get to choose. Israel did not get to choose where they were going. We're training like God trained Israel.
But on that note too, not only did God tell them where they were going, they weren't allowed to lead, he also told them what they were allowed to eat. He gave them manna. You know, he gave them the clothes to wear, and that was all they had. There was no options. They only had one pair of shoes. That was it. He kept it very restricted and very restrained, but he was good to them. He loved them and he took care of them and gave them all their needs, but he didn't indulge them at all. God did not indulge them at all. But he said, I carried you on eagle's wings. So,
So we're going to give you some tips on what it means to be in charge in your home or to lead in your home. First of all, you need to understand in the Moses stage, the child has no choices or freedoms. We don't give any freedoms. We teach them respect. We train them to obey. We train them how to handle their emotions. We train them how to accept when their desires don't get met. They don't get any choices or freedoms. You set their schedule. You are going to begin to set their schedule when they eat, what they eat, and you have to be careful not. You should never. If you want to give snacks, it's fine, but don't give your kids snack at 11 o'clock and expect them to eat at 12.
Well, also, I think this is something I see here pretty often too, is kids going to their mama whining, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. I would have never let my children do that. They're not allowed to just walk around whining and murmuring, and you give in to that. So 10 o'clock is snack time. We'll get it. If you want to have snacks in your home, that's fine. But don't ever allow your children to just come walking up to you crying that they're hungry. That's just, we don't do that. The children of Israel, God was not happy with them for doing that. So they need to know, if you're hungry, then you can say I'm hungry. And then mama might say, it's not time to eat yet. And they need to be okay with that, Or if you're thinking, well, they are in a growth spurt right now, maybe they're hungry, but ultimately the parents are in charge. And so do not let them whine and manipulate you into what they want, especially those desires like hunger. I'm not tired. I don't want to sleep. I'm not ready to go to sleep. Like Benjamin right now, he doesn't want to go to sleep.
There, we told our children, if you want to sleep, that's not the option. You can't get out of your bed for the next 30 minutes. So if you don't want to sleep, you don't have to sleep, but you can't get out. We come back 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't want to sleep doesn't release you to just go do what you want to do. Then you lay there because this is nap time. You have to sit there. I mean, I went to kindergarten. A lot of you guys probably had this in your kindergarten also. There was a nap time and you had to stay on your mat. And if you didn't want to take a nap, it's fine, but you still got to stay on your mat. So you want to create activities and you want to understand that they have about 10-15 minutes of endurance. So you don't want to set 3-hour activities because the child just can't handle it. You're building them up. When I went into the gym, I didn't try to bench press 1,000 kilos. Why? In fact, I went very low because I'm getting older and I don't want to injure myself. And so I just began to work out and slowly increase my weight.
Something I liked to do as a mom when my kids were small was let's say I need to cook a meal. And so it's not safe for me to be wearing them while I'm cooking a meal. So I would put them in the high chair, strap them in so I can see them. They're safe. I know they're fine. And I'm going to train them that they're going to sit in this high chair for 15 minutes. And I'm going to give them some Play-Doh maybe for 15 minutes. And then I don't care if they're crying. I don't care about that. I can see them. They're good. They're fine. They're going to play there for 15 minutes. And then I am in, let's say 10 minutes, I'm going to change the activity. I don't care what they want. I don't care what mood they're in. Maybe they're still happily playing with Play-Doh. I don't care. 10 minutes have passed. I'm going to remove the Play-Doh and I'm going to give them a puzzle now. Now, after 10 minutes with a puzzle, well, they've now been in this seat for 20 minutes. So now it's time for me to move them. So maybe by this point, I'm done the cutting and chopping. Maybe, so I need to know I've got about 20 minutes maximum that I can restrain them in this position before I'm going to move activities. So you'll have to start using some wisdom, some understanding, but you want to make sure that I am going to change their activity. We do that here in the Sunday school classroom. I would go in sometimes and say, do not give them the box of toys as soon as you get in here. We've got a 1-hour sermon. We're going to do 15 minutes or 10 minutes of singing. We're going to sing together 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, we're not going to wait for them to cry to change activities, or they're directing us. After 10 minutes, we're reading them a story. We're going to read them a story. When we're done reading the story, now we're going to play with the toys. They've never cried the entire time. They've been happy for 1 full hour because we directed that whole schedule. We directed that time, knowing where they're at, knowing what the time is, where if you give them a box of toys, after 20 minutes, they're all crying and we're done. We've got nothing else to do now. Now we're trying to repair the damages we've done. But if you stay ahead of them and you know this is about how long they're capable of this, and I'm going to push them with this, we're going to do this, I'm going to change your activity. I'm not going to change activity because you demanded me to with your cries, or you're in charge. You understand? So it has to be that the parents are always in charge. I'm the one directing your activities. I'm the one that changes your play. I'm the one that says it's snack time. I'm the one that says it's nap time. I'm in charge and you're not. And you're learning to follow. Just like the children of Israel had to learn to follow the cloud. And boy, didn't they rebel. Didn't they cry and pitch temper tantrums? Didn't they say they were all going to die and it was horrible? I mean, didn't they do all these things?
Your child
And
thinks he's going to die.
They think they're going to die too. Look at Benjamin. He's tired, but doesn't want to sleep. So he's like, I will not sleep. It's just ridiculous what they do, but you have to just conquer that will and just go with it anyway. You just have to do what's right. Don't give in to it.
When you're training them and directing their desires, one of the things you can do is limit toys. So if you're going to do blanket time, don't put 200 toys on the blanket thinking this will keep them busy while they're on the blanket. Give them one, at the most, 2 different toys and say that's it. In fact, there was a season where the kids would play and make such a mess with all their toys. We separated them into 3 groups and we say, this week you play with these toys. And we even played the game where we set the containers out and said, okay, you guys help us. What toys you want to be in what container? And then we set those, and for this week is this container. They were not allowed to go pull another toy out of the other container. That was disobedience. They get to play, and you don't need new toys. You just need to not let them
recycle.
The next week, these new toys, oh my God, they're
new.
playing with it, and you're like, this is just like a new toy for them. And so don't just give them everything all the time. You have to teach them patience, teach them to have some restraint. So if you've got too many toys, go get at least 2 bins, 3 bins, and say, okay guys, we're gonna put these in there, and this week we play with these toys only. It is off limits. It's no to take any, I don't care. So think carefully of how we're going to put all this together. This goes throughout the Moses stage, but it starts in Moses 1. Not indulging them with all of their toys all the time. You know what happens when you let your children play with all their toys? They don't want to play with none of them.
Yeah,
they want
bored.
something new. Restrict them, and old toys become new. And don't give in to their crying. They will test you. And they can cry a whole lot longer than you're willing sometimes to endure. So you need to direct them. They cannot direct you.
And they direct you with their crying. So just imagine that, you have your child in the stroller and you're telling them you're going to sit in the stroller, and then they start crying and you changed your plan and took them out of the stroller. Well, who's in charge? Who's in charge?
Several times we were going to say we were going to do something, but as soon as they cried and said they didn't want to do it, I was like, oh, you're going to go against what you desire to do. Like if we were getting down the stroller and then we were like, oh no, maybe we should put them in the stroller. And they're like, I don't want to get in the stroller. I'm like, get your butt in that stroller right now. We're taking the stroller. Because we were looking at times to help them be confronted. You're confronting their will. You're confronting their desires. You're restraining them. You're teaching them to do what they don't want to do. Almost done. Training them to obey is what Moses stage is all about. It looks a little different in Moses 1, Moses 2, and Moses 3. But the goals is that the child learns obedience and respect. And that is done in the Moses stage, not when they're teenagers. A child will not rule over the home. That is your goal, that you rule. You want to rule and reign with Christ, but you can't, your children are ruling you. It's not good.
So mothers should not be wore out and exhausted. If our children are wearing us out and we're exhausted, then we're doing something wrong. That means that they're in charge. So we need to, I think, I had this, do y'all mind me using you guys as an example? They brought Benjamin to the house a couple weeks ago. Now, Benjamin had been sick. He was underweight. They were trying to get him to gain weight, and there was some legitimate issues here. So we weren't doing any training until first his weight was healthy. We knew he was getting enough food, and like just feed him. Just feed him, feed him, feed him, feed him. We'll train later. Let's just get him healthy first. And then, he was turning into a little monster. He would just scream and scream and scream, and he was wearing both of them out. They had to take turns handling him because he was just wearing them both out. And so one night they brought him to me while they were at cleaning crew. And he just went, I thought he fell and hurt himself, but he's just screaming and for no reason. He was just tired. I was like, that is crazy that you're going to scream like this. So he was just flailing and I held him and I restrained him against me. I adore this baby, but he needs to sleep. I know he's tired. I know what he needs. He needs to sleep. He doesn't want to sleep, but that's exactly what he needs. And I held him towards me. And as soon as I held him against me, whoa, he screamed even louder. He was so angry that I was restraining him. And I did not give in because I know exactly what this little boy needs. Well, he screamed for about 15 minutes and then passed out. And he was fine after that. And then they came home. They're like, how was he? I was like, wow, he has trained you guys so well. Y'all need to flip that. You need to control this little boy. He's running everything here. He's in charge. You guys need to flip this. And so we began talking about things of how to flip it. And immediately, within 2 or 3 days, he became sweet, smiley, happy Benjamin
More
who
content.
laughs, happy, content, because he knows his boundaries. Now we just enjoy spending time with him. Before it was kind of like, what kind of mood's he in today? It was just, he was a little monster. So very quickly they were able to turn this around just by some training. Simple. I could tell the fruit in just a few days.
Are you guys seeing some of the fruit from your training? Well, your training's not over because his soul is becoming more and more alive. The older they get, it requires more and more training. But the goals in Moses is that the child is submitted to the parents' will and not their own. This is, you want to hand them off to God, where they want to do God's will and not their own will. That's the goal in their life. And when Jesus prays, not my will, but your will be done,
It's an obedient son.
you have to train that very early so they don't go into rebellion. Another goal is that the child can go anywhere without disruption. There have, in America, in Indonesia, all over the world, women say, well, I don't take my children shopping because it's too difficult. No, the correct training, you can go anywhere and have
Absolutely.
obedient children.
You
They're
can
not
go
going to
to-
grab everything off of the
You
shelf.
can go to any restaurant, any store. I know y'all remember when you guys were little. I brought, Yeah, I told him, hold the basket. You hold on this side, you hold on this side. I had one here, I had one strapped to me, and 2 people were running missions for me. Go get me 2 cucumbers. Go get me 3 of this. We were like a little system, and everyone knew who we were because they were just amazed by it. It was just, they were just never saw anything like that. That was one of our testimonies. And I told the kids, you're gonna go with me shopping actually because it's a testimony. When people see that, they're just amazed at it, to see a house that functions and is in order. And it was glorious and it brought God glory. I can't tell you how many people would stop us in the stores and ask us questions, and people knew us. And it brought tremendous glory to the Lord, so much so that I knew I was disobedient to the Lord if I didn't bring all my children to the store to show God's glory to this generation. It was that important. And so it's not right to just, oh, it's too difficult. I can't do it. I need their daddy to be home so I can go shopping. No, not at all. Why do that? If you cannot go somewhere with them and they make you look bad, then you need to do some training at home for sure.
Another goal is to increase in self-control and attention span. The reason why we have a plague of ADD is because of lack of self-control. Now everybody is ADD. No, is everybody lacks self-control. There are some people who are ADD, but not everybody.
Not everybody.
But
And
when-
even ADD can learn self-control.
Yes.
They can.
They
It's
can.
hard.
They have
but
to.
they can.
Ephesians 6, 1 and 2. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother. Obey and honor, which is obey and learn respect. There's a lot more respect that comes in the later levels of Moses. We're not there. We haven't even brought the rod up. Why? Because we haven't given them the law yet. You see, we're training. We're training them to control their emotions. We're training them to control their desires. Because when the law comes, he has a friend, and it's called a rod. And if you haven't trained them, they're going to transgress that law, and they are going to live by the rod. So we're going to focus on training. So when the law comes, the law is not necessarily, it's part of the training, but it is not the main part of dealing with the heart of the law. Even Jesus said, when they asked him, can a man divorce his wife for anything according to the law of Moses? He says, it's not been this way from the beginning. The only reason that was permitted is because of the hardness of your hearts. And so the law, you have to be with them. You have to train them. The law begins to tell them what the standard of the house is. But you have to train prior to the giving of the law. God started the training when they came out of Egypt. All the way up. He set boundaries when they got to Mount Sinai. And then after all that was established, here comes the law. And we're going to get into the law very shortly because that comes in Moses stage 2. And we are finishing Moses stage 1 tonight. Mm-hmm. But it's not just what they can't have, what they can't do. You have to nurture the child also. Mm-hmm. You have to spend time with your child. You have to love on them.
Absolutely.
But you also have to train them. That's also showing them love. 2 Timothy 3:15 says, and how from infancy you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Christ Jesus. You are determining whether they're going to walk out in salvation with Christ Jesus or they're going to rebel. Yeah. Rebel from their faith. Have nothing to do with God. Or go to a church that meets all their desires and entertains them.
So at every stage of child raising, we're going to talk about how can we introduce the word to them at this stage. And so according to the scriptures, even from infancy, 0 to 18 months, they can already begin being introduced to the word, and which is a beautiful thing. And I know because all you guys love the Lord, and it's not just our passion, it's yours as well, to raise up a godly generation. I know you guys are excited about that. And here's some things that you can do. Bible songs, y'all already know. I think none of this is new. This is stuff you guys already know. Bible songs, reading them picture books, Bible picture books, and just them seeing your love for reading the word and your love for worshiping. I mean, the kids, they don't know they're worshiping God. When they're doing that, they're copying you. They're imitating you because that must be fun. You do it all the time. It must be fun, and they're learning this from you. So they see your love for the word and your love for worshiping. And if they have a Bible, this is so special. You have a Bible, like I have a Bible. This is the most precious gift. And they can tell by your enthusiasm towards it that, wow, this little thing is special. I can't read it. I'm probably going to eat it. I'm probably going to tear the pages. Definitely highlight it. Any
highlight it with a black highlighter.
Lily's Bible is highlighted from chapter 1 to chapter 15. She was so excited when she got her new Bible. It was colorful.
Well, does Jeho has a Bible? Can Jeho read? No.
No, but is it precious?
But you know what? We teach him it's precious. Where's your Bible, Jeho? It's right here. He can't even read it.
Yes. But they know.
But you're going to Sunday school. You got to have your Bible. See, we're training him before he can ever read. That Bible is precious. You keep it with you. Mm-hmm. At LCM, everyone at LCM, parents and child, at all time, they have their Bible. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know this. Ask me any time of the day, Puck Brent, you got your Bible? I have it.
Mm-hmm. It's your sword.
If you see me with that backpack on, I have it. Now I'm being trained how to carry a water bottle around.
That's right.
But I've always kept my Bible with me at all times.
Uh-huh.
Always with me.
This one is teaching them
You
how.
can teach this. Teresa did an amazing job, so I'm going to let her teach this slide.
Well, this one is one we actually lack in the community that I realized, well, I don't think we did this one very well, was teaching them to close their eyes and respect in prayer. So I think this is one that we can definitely work on. And you can start this as early as, you know, I know when you guys are feeding your babies, their first meal, close your eyes, you know, let's pray. Jesus, thank you for, they have no idea. They just want to get to that food, but they're going to learn. We're going to honor God first. You don't do this when you're nursing. That's too often. But when you start giving them their food, they're going to learn, oh, Jesus, and they're just going to be like, no, we're going to pray. Oh, yeah, we're gonna, and then they start eating. You make it fast. But teach them just to have that honor for God before eating, to close their eyes. And I've even thought we're going to start doing that in our baby classes here too. We're going to pray and teach them, close your eyes, fold your hands. Very brief moments, no long prayers, guys. We don't have time, but very brief moments. Let's start training them how to do that, and we can start doing that. And another thing too is in prayer, during prayer times, they need to learn especially to show reverence in prayer, and also prophecy. I think this is very important. I don't know why. Every time a prophecy goes out, one of the kids is like, Mom, like, not when God is speaking to us. Any other moment you can talk to me. Not right now. God is talking to us. Be quiet. There's nothing important you need to tell me right now. So they need to learn, like, this is not the time. When there is a prophecy going on, God is speaking. Be quiet and listen. We are going to honor prophecy. So prayer and prophecy, I think, are two moments that we need to make sure we teach them very early. I don't care. I don't care if you need to pee. You just wait 2 minutes. Wait 2 minutes. This prophecy is done. And do not interrupt me in prophecy time. So you can begin to have those in your heart, and they will Lily, how often do I do that? This is prophecy time. Shh, you know this. You know, that's I think those things, we teach them honor and respect for prayer and prophecy.
You can start at the top.
Huh?
We didn't do the top ones. We just did
Bible songs? I think we did.
No.
Right?
So you should be playing Bible songs for them at an early age. Maybe not Brandon Lake.
I mean, they can. Depends. It depends. And you just have little children, then you're going to be singing all the listener kids, Jesus loves me. But when you have older children, they are going to be singing Let the Lion Roar, because that's what you're playing now. So that's going to be.
Noah build an arky, okay? I heard it a million times.
It's all the same.
You want to introduce them to Bible picture books.
Now, remember too, Moses, they don't have a clue what they're doing. What's some of the songs? Tell me, what was that song you sang wrong all your life and had no idea? What was it?
I don't know, but Lily just found out when we say day and night, she thought we were saying date night.
Let incense arise. She thought we were singing date night. And it was her favorite song, the date night song. We're like, what date night song? So it just goes to, what was your song? Do you remember it?
The monkey thought it was all
So I did that too when I was little. I sang songs completely wrong, had no idea until I was 12 or 13. What am I saying? That doesn't even make sense. So just to say, they will sing songs. It will be wrong. It's hilarious when you realize it. But they don't know what they're doing. That's not the point. They're imitating right now. And that's what they're supposed to be doing at this stage. They're not worshiping because they feel the presence of God. They're copying you. And that's, so don't be like, oh, my baby's so holy. They're not. They're copying you, which is wonderful. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be copying you.
That means they honor and respect you, and they want to be like you.
They want to be like you. They want to do what they're saying. But the point is, they're not going to understand. They don't need to have understanding in the Moses stage. That's not what they're doing. They don't need to have understanding. They're just doing what they see you do, and they're obeying you, and they're respecting you. That's the point. They'll understand later. Understanding is for later.
So this concludes Moses stage 1. Next week, we're going to go into Moses stage 2 because their soul begins to develop and their inclination becomes more and more challenging. And so we just laid a foundation. The tool no is going to go to the next level. The tool of the rod being a reinforcement is now going to go to another level. And that's going to continue through the Moses stage. So next week, we have some more stuff in store. We're not done Moses. We're just done Moses part 1.
0 to 18 months.
0 to 18 months. Train, train, train. If some
Now
of
we're
you-
saying too, we're saying a lot of training and disciplining because it's a given that of course you're teaching your baby to kiss you and giving them raspberry. We're assuming that you're doing all that. So we're not going to tell you those things because we're just going to assume that you love your baby and you're also nurturing and taking care of your baby. If you struggle with that and you're like, I just don't have any feelings, I don't know what's wrong with me. Well, we can talk about that too. But that happens sometimes too. After mamas just have a baby, sometimes they get the baby blues and they don't know what's wrong with them. That does happen too. So if you need to know, what do I need to do to show affection or to love my baby or, I'm having struggles with these things, we can have that too. But we're just saying as a given, we're generally expecting that you're going to love your baby and you're going to want to be with them and spend time with them. We're talking about just how to, what our goals are with them in those stages. So.
All right, who wants to, you can go ahead and stop the video. Who wants to go ahead and close us in prayer?
Mighty God, Lord, we thank